Every country on Earth has a central bank. Every one of those banks controls its nation's money supply. And almost every government, from the richest to the poorest, is buried in debt. But here's the question no one ever asks. If every country is in debt, who do they owe? This is the mystery that hides in plain sight. We retold that central banks keep economies stable, that they prevent crises and protect the public good. But what if the truth is far more complicated?
Yes.
What if the system wasn't designed to protect nations, but to own them? What if behind the polite language of economics, there exists an invisible empire, one that doesn't conquer with armies, but with interest rates, inflation, and debt? Today, we'll uncover the story of how money became the most powerful weapon ever invented, and how a global network quietly took control of every central bank on Earth. Origins. Money before the empire, to understand how this empire began. We have to go back long before Wall Street, before the IMF. Even before the dollar in the ancient world, money meant something real. It was gold, silver, or other precious metals. A coin had value because it was value, but gold had a problem: you couldn't create it from nothing. And for rulers hungry for war, expansion, and control, that was unacceptable by the 1600s. Europe was changing fast, trade was booming, and the demand for money grew faster than the supply of gold. Merchants began issuing promissory notes, paper claims on gold stored in vaults. People started trusting the paper more than the metal itself, and that's when the first spark of the empire appeared in 1694. King William III of England was desperate for funds to wage war against France, so he made a historic deal with a group of wealthy lenders. They would create a private corporation called the Bank of England, and in return for lending the king money, they would gain the right to issue banknotes. Those banknotes weren't backed by gold in circulation, they were backed by government debt. It was a revolutionary shift. Money was no longer wealth, it was a claim on future wealth. And whoever controlled the creation of that money controlled the future. The system worked too well soon. Other countries copied it. Private bankers became the financial backbone of nations in the age of money as debt had begun. The rise, the American experiment, and the blueprint for control across the Atlantic. The newly formed United States wanted no part of this system. The Founding Fathers saw what had happened in Europe. Thomas Jefferson warned that if private banks gained control over currency, the banks and corporations will deprive the people of all property. But power has patience. In the 1800s, the U.S. fought bitter battles over banking to central banks rose and fell, each time accused of corruption, favoritism, and foreign influence. President Andrew Jackson shut one down, calling it a den of vipers and thieves. For a time, America was free from a central bank, but the empire doesn't give up. It reorganizes, it waits. In 1910, a secret meeting took place on Jekyll Island. Off the coast of Georgia, a group of powerful men representing Wall Street, European banking dynasties, and political insiders met under fake names to design a new system. Their plan: to create a Federal Reserve that sounded public, but wasn't. 3 years later, the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 passed quietly through Congress. And just like that, control over America's money supply was handed to a private banking consortium with the power to create money from debt. It was sold as stability and reality. It was consolidation. The empire had crossed the ocean, the breaking point. Money detached from reality. The 20th century was the empire's masterpiece in 1914. World War I erupted, financed almost entirely through borrowed money. Nations no longer needed gold to wage war. They could simply create debt after the war. Europe was devastated. The old world order collapsed, and in the chaos, new financial institutions emerged, each one extending the reach of central banking deeper into global affairs. Then came World War II, and with it, the next transformation. In 1944, global leaders met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. To rebuild the world economy, their solution: peg every major currency to the US dollar. And peg the dollar to gold. It seemed logical, but it gave America, and it's privately controlled, Federal Reserve, a unique power, the ability to print the world's reserve currency. This meant every country on Earth was now indirectly tied to the US financial system. The empire was no longer national, it was global then. In 1971, President Richard Nixon broke the final link between money and gold in one televised announcement. He ended the gold standard. Money was no longer backed by anything real, only by trust. It became fiat currency declared valuable by governments, but created by banks out of thin air from that day forward. The world's money became debt in digital form, and whoever controlled its creation controlled everything built upon it. Governments, corporations, and people alike. The fallout. A world owned by debt once the dollar became the world's anchor. The game changed forever. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank were established to support nations in crisis. But the loans they offered came with conditions. Privatize industries, cut spending, open markets. And surrender control. Poor countries were promised development, but what they got was dependence. Debt became the new form of conquest. No need for armies when interest rates could do the job by the 1980s. Even rich nations were drowning in borrowed money by 2008. The illusion shattered that year. The financial system nearly collapsed under the weight of its own lies. Banks had been gambling with money they didn't have, creating mountains of leverage. When it all fell apart, governments rushed to bail out the system by printing even more money. Trillions of dollars appeared out of thin air. Not to rescue citizens, but to rescue the very institutions that caused the collapse. And since then, the numbers have gone insane. It's by 2025. Global debt has surpassed $300 trillion, more than 3 times the entire world's annual economic output. And here's the cruel paradox. No matter how much money governments print, they always owe more than before, because in this system, money is debt. To create more currency is to create more obligation, and the interest never stops. Failed fixes and modern parallels. Every solution only strengthens the system that caused the problem. Interest rate hikes, quantitative easing, stimulus checks, all are temporary patches on a structure designed to collapse forward and now. The empire is evolving again into something even more powerful. Central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, are being developed across the world. They promise convenience, speed, and security, but what they really offer is control. With digital money issued directly by central banks, every transaction can be tracked, analyzed, and deliced. And even reverse privacy disappears, autonomy fades, and for the first time in history, money itself could be programmed, restricted, expired, or denied. Based on rules you didn't set. Cash once gave you independence. CBDCs could end it. It's the final stage of the same empire. The quiet merging of finance, technology, and surveillance into one seamless system. The pattern repeats. Look closely. And the same story keeps unfolding. 1694, the Bank of England invents debt-based money. 1913, the Federal Reserve institutionalizes it. 1944, Bretton Woods globalizes it. 1971, fiat currency breaks all limits. 2008, crises justify infinite creation. 2020s, digital money closes the loop. Each phase makes the system bigger, but also more fragile in every crisis. Whether war, pandemic, or crash becomes a pretext for expansion. That's the genius of it. The empire thrives on instability, because every time something breaks, it gains more control in the name of saving you. The lessons, 3 takeaways. Takeaway number 1, money is no longer wealth. It's a control mechanism. Every new dollar is a new chain, linking citizens to a debt they didn't create. Takeaway number 2, debt isn't a flaw in the system, it is the system. It ensures constant dependency, nations on creditors, people on banks, and governments on endless borrowing. Takeaway number 3, real wealth isn't what's printed, it's what's produced, owned, and understood. Once you see how money is made, you stop confusing debt with prosperity. The warning and the choice: the empire doesn't need flags or soldiers. It doesn't need borders. Its power lies in the illusion that this is just how the world works. But illusions don't last forever. When money becomes infinite, trust becomes finite. And when the public loses faith in the system falls. Every empire in history has collapsed under the weight of its own deception. This one will too. The only question is, what replaces it? A digital prison or a return to something real, transparent, and fair? That answer depends on how many people wake up before the next reset begins. Call to action. If this opened your eyes, don't let it end here. Learn how money really works. Share this story. Talk about it. Because silence is what keeps the empire alive. The moment people see the system for what it is, its power begins to fade. This was the secret empire that owns every central bank on Earth, and the story is still being written.